And welcome back to another episode of the Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and I am so glad that you tuned in today. We always want to start our segment by thanking our sponsors. So big shout out to Equity First. If you are experiencing credit and or financial challenges for yourself or for your business, consider touching base with any one of their trained professionals. They are bilingual, nationwide, and waiting for your call. They could be reached at 631-714-4822. And with that said, I am so excited for our next guest. We have another one of our Long Island News show hosts with us today. We are with Errol Marks. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I think that this is going to be a fantastic segment, host to host. So
Absolutely.
let's start with telling everybody a little bit about your show that's also heard right here on Long Island News Radio.
Well, actually, when we started on a platform called the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, which we continue doing. I have a show called The Sports Loudmouths, and we've been doing the show for over 7 years. My partner, Speedy Petey, it's his nickname. He's my producer and co-host, fantastic talent, one of the most analytically sound people you'll ever meet when it comes to sports and media. Great personality. And what we did is we reached out to Pat and John and all of them over there and had a conversation with them. And we kind of pitched our sports radio show, and we wanted to crunch our sports throughout the week into one segment and one show for 2 hours on 103.9 FM. And John and Pat really liked it, and it did. Obviously, shout out to Mike Catino, who runs a great organization that we work with as well. And it all connected, and we started the process. We started 3 years ago. We started with Eric Coleman from the New York
I
Jets.
love Eric. He's fantastic.
And he's fantastic. And when he started, he really never did radio. He added a little radio here and a little radio there, but he never did a full show and segments on a show. And he started to work with us for over like a year and a half, and we built a good rapport. And then eventually he got the MSG job and MSG opportunity, and we parted ways, but we're still very good friends. And he's looking forward to my growth just as well as I have been looking forward to his growth as a radio/TV guy. And that's how it really began. And then really going and doing events and really interacting with people in the industry, sports industry, music industry, radio industry, writers, every single person, you name it, we deal with and we interview them. And it's great. We kind of bring out their personalities, change the way you interview people. A lot of these radio shows out there, and I'm not going to mention any shows. I don't throw any show under the bus. But what we do is we kind of sit like we're at a lunchroom, and we ask them questions, but we also interact in life and personalities. And we let them be themselves on the show. We don't want them to be anything but themselves when they're sitting with their family and their friends. And it's a great interview, and it's a great show because when we do the Weekend Crunch, it's not just sports oriented and everybody looks at it. It's New York sports. We try to crunch the New York sports media together in a 2-hour show, and we try to bring out a different outlook to what we think is going on with the Yankees, the Mets, the Islanders, the Rangers, the Knicks, the Jets, the Giants, the Buffalo Bills, you name it, even soccer. I mean, the Red Bulls. We talk about golf. Whatever stands out to people and what people are talking about throughout the week, we try to hit it a different way where we make people kind of gravitate to what we're trying to do in the industry.
I love it. And I think the most is the energy, because I'm high energy when I bring clients listen to me, when I bring a guest onto the show. And when I'm doing red carpet, you and I met at an event. And again, your energy dictates who's going to gravitate to you. And those are the opportunities that you are afforded in front of you. So when I'm even working and, talk about Eric Coleman, you never know when you're going to see somebody. Last year, I had the opportunity of meeting Eric at a golf outing where I did interview him. But unlike you on the sports side, we like to focus on entrepreneurship. So I asked him a lot of questions about how he's raising his children and, needs versus wants and what lessons in life he is teaching the next generation because he's had success. Doesn't mean his children are going to have success. And really, talking to a lot of the athletes about their careers, or I should say, the next chapter. I've spoken to a handful of athletes who describe leaving their positions, whether it be in the NBA, the NFL, regardless. They say when they leave and they go home, it's the equivalent of somebody leaving the military coming home and almost having PTSD because they don't know how people are identifying them and they don't know who they are, for their next chapter. So it's very interesting for me to have conversations with people in that arena. What has been your conversation with the sports celebrities as well?
It's so interesting. Each celebrity, each athlete has a different story behind every single conversation you have. And every one of them have family and obviously have been married for a certain amount of time. Some of them, their wives are sick. We've had an athlete talk about the cancer that his wife has been dealing with, and she's in fourth stage of cancer, and it's been hard for him and his family, and how he's dedicated his life in trying to help his wife and try to get her through this. We've talked to athletes that obviously have been down and out, where they've lost all their money as an athlete because they made bad business decisions. We've also talked to athletes that are growing entrepreneurs, that are finding ways to figure out where they want to go in their lives and find their way outside of the ring, outside of the field or the ice or whatever the heck they're playing. So it's very intriguing when you talk to a bunch of athletes and they don't look at you as just a normal guy asking them questions. They're looking at you as somebody that they respect in the industry, somebody that is grasping for information and not trying to hold back because they're the athlete or they're the superstar or they're the millionaire. So I respect a lot of the different athletes that we've interviewed, and we've interviewed some athletes that I can honestly say we didn't get along with. As a matter of fact,
it's hard, right? It's really hard.
Oh my God. It's so funny. I'll tell you a funny story. I'm not going to mention any names, but we talked to a professional analyst that works for an organization, a professional basketball team. And it was one of our first interviews. We've interviewed like 400 or 500 different people in the past 3 years. It's crazy. And our concept to asking questions is really being out there and blah, And I asked 5 silly questions. And I'll never forget the face that he made when I asked him. I said, my first question is if you were a woman and you went out in public, what would you wear? And he looked at me for a second. He said, "Oh, it's very nice meeting you, Errol. I hope your show does very well. We'll talk to you soon." And I'll never forget it because I haven't spoken to him since then. So it's funny.
It happens. You
Yeah.
try to bring out a different side of them, and sometimes bringing them out of their comfort zone doesn't make them comfortable at all. I did a interview last year. Similarly, I'll just say this was somebody in the fashion design industry. And I was one of a handful of people that was selected to do an interview with this woman. She was being recognized during Fashion Week. And I went to meet with her. And I sat down right next to her. And these were my words. Before we get started, I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care about this. I am not Vogue or another one of these publications that's going to bow to you because you make beautiful clothes. I want to talk to you about, again, entrepreneurship and the struggles that you've had. It was absolutely the most painful interview. And I was, she's looking at me and I'm getting angry. Like, just speak your piece. And she just couldn't get words out. I don't understand what you mean. So like one of my questions was, there's so many young people that want to enter into the field, of fashion, but they don't have the opportunity that affords them to go to school. Tell us a little bit about how you would, steer or mentor somebody that may not have the financial means to pay for school, but they want to engage in the financial industry. makes
You know,
perfect
it's,
sense to you and I.
uh,
This woman was like, I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand. What are you saying to me? People can't afford to go to school. Well, we, and she just kept biting her words. And long story short, I literally could only clip it down to about a minute before that was all. A 15-minute interview. By the time you took out all the pauses and meat, I think I got about 35 seconds of good content. No, that's a lie. It was probably about 2 minutes of good content. But just on that note, for the sake of time, how do people find you? Like, tell
oh,
us where
it's
we're
very.
finding your show. When are you on?
Oh, we're actually we do a show that it's not a podcast. Everybody says it's a podcast. No, it's a live radio show. You can
Yep,
actually
I get
tune
it.
on.
That's you and me right here.
You can tune on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. Where all you have to do is go to www dot what is it WWSRN underscore radio on Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook, and you can watch us live on those YouTube Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Our show is on during the summertime. It's on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. We switch the time so younger kids, the younger fans, can actually listen to us because we are crazy. We're very unique, and it's something that you're not accustomed to. We don't curse really on the show. We do have guests that call or fans that call that do curse, but we don't really spit out any curses. We try to be as professional as we can, and we have people that hate us and they don't like us. But you could find me at Errol Marks, ERROLMARKS 34 on Twitter. That's where I'm on. If you want to interact with me and see what I'm doing, Twitter is where to go. You can find me on Instagram. I don't know if you're going to get any kind of information or correspondence over there, but hey, maybe you will. E.Marks34. That's my thing. Worldwide, WWSRN underscore radio on Instagram if you want to follow us there. But yeah, it's so funny. Before I let you go, um, when we started this network, we had a lot of people working with us, a lot of kids that graduated from school that needed a platform, needed something to earn time and opportunity to move on in their careers. And a lot of people came through us, and we helped. And I helped learn production, and teach a little bit on how you can pause and understand how to speak and read and do the things that you need to do at the same time, even production and engineering on a radio show. And we've had a lot of people succeed. One of them, Jake Asman, who works for ESPN Radio in Houston, does the afternoon show. We also, I think it's called the Wheelhouse. And then we have a guy named Ryan Hickey that came to us after he graduated from Penn State, who does a show on Saturday night, late that Saturday nights on CBS Sports Radio. And then we have producers like Renee Canales that works for ESPN. And we've had so many people come through, and I'm not taking any credit. And I don't want to throw anybody. I'm not throwing names out there. I'm just saying, if you want to do something, you don't necessarily. I'm not saying don't go to school, but you can learn how to do this. If somebody's willing to sit there and work with you, understand the business. Now, this is a very hard business to get into now. It's probably, as a radio person, it's harder to get into the radio business than it is to get as an athlete, as being drafted as a baseball player, a basketball player, a football player. It's crazy to say that, but it's true. There are limited opportunities. But if you believe in yourself and you put the time and effort, and I was always told by my mentors, by guys like Ian Eagle and Don LaGreca, and Dan Schwartzman, people in the industry, Mike Breen, I was told that you need to put 5,000 hours of time before somebody will give you an opportunity. I put 25,000, but you got to put the time in. And just because you see other people do it and think, hey, I could talk on a mic for 3 hours, I could talk about sports, it's not that easy.
It's
So
not that easy.
for anybody like Rhonda, anybody that does this for a living, say, I can do this, I can outspeak her, I can outwit her on the radio. I've had people come into this studio and tell me, wow, I don't know how you do it for 3 hours. I don't know how you talk and go back and forth and argue about things and argue to fans for 3 hours. It's not that easy, and it isn't. You have to have the personality and you have to have the whereabout to put the time and effort into it to learn this industry and learn this business.
I love it. Thank you so much for those final remarks. And we are going to cut it right there. Stay tuned. We're going to get ready to bring you another guest.